Kisisas Roish B'nai Yisrael. The Medrash says, Kisisas Roish, Moshe Rabbeinu says, Ani Zoykif Es Roishim Shel Yisrael. So Be'ez Hashem, next week at Siyat HaShmai we'll learn about Machzas HaShekel. But it's Mavu in the Medrash that this Kisisas Roish has to do with the Chet HaEgel. And a Yid is walking around, living life with his face down. And Moshe Rabbeinu says, Ani Zoykif Es Roishim Shel Yisrael. I'm going to pick up the face of Klal Yisrael. Learning the Parasha, this Parasha is probably from the most difficult Parashas to learn about the Chet HaEgel. The Chidushirim writes that B'etzem, we would have no way to learn. Imagine we have to learn about a Chet of the Satmarov or the Baron Kotler, and we have to explain the Baron Kotler's Chet. It's not something we could learn about. It's not something we can understand. It's not the Chidushirim, because the Eibishter gave us the Torah, and the Torah is given us for us to learn, so we could learn things from the Torah. Reb Chatzkel said over from the Kotzke, that the Kotzke said the Chiluk Tzivishin Doiris Rishonim and Doiris Achronim, from the Doiris Rishonim Derech HaToim turned into Torah. So we can understand, they look in the Mefarshim, the Even Ezra, the Mar Nevuchim, what the Chet was. But the Chol HaPachas, the Torah was given to us to learn from. I want to ask a question. Aaron Kreis used to always say the best thing is a question. So if someone doesn't like the answer, he doesn't, I'm just sharing a Mahalach HaMachshava, at least the person will have a question. What was it like? Klal Yisrael came to the level, the highest level a person could come to. Ani amarti elakim atem uvnei elyon kolchem. Klal Yisrael came to the level of Maimed Ar Sinai. They went back to Adam Rishon Kodim Achet. There's no Misa anymore. They're waiting for this from Moshe Rabbeinu, from the Ovis, from Avram Yitzchak V'Yankiv. Tavdanas elakim ala hora hazeh. They prepare themselves for Matan Torah. And from Matan Torah, the Medrash has three pshatim, how long it took for Klal Yisrael to be choyte. The longest, Poil, the Chet was 40 days later. The Medrash says that the Chet started 11 days later. The Baita says that it started already B'Shas Kabbalah Torah. They already had their eyes on the Chet HaEgel. So what did it feel like? What does the Torah teach us the day after? The day after the Chet HaEgel. Now all of a sudden, Klal Yisrael, now it's Nenesh Vahem, B'yoyim Pakoit Pakarati. There was a Yid, maybe Rabbi Birnbaum knew Dr. Glansman.
Of course.
Glansman.
You learned with Baron, right?
Oh, yeah, we learned with the Baron. Dr. Glansman, my whole shul started with Dr. His son was lifted. Dr. Glansman lived on my block. That's when my whole shul started, when Dr. Glansman lived on my block. I used to learn with him. The Soif Yomov, I used to learn with him. And one thing, here in Lakewood, the Soif Yomov, the son was Dr. Pressure. And he used to say over, the Soif Yomov, when the cup wasn't so strong, he used to say, B'yoyim pakoit pakadati, Dr. Rashi, all tzoros. You hear tzoros happen in Klal Yisrael? Tzoros happens to Tom with the Chet HaEgel. So all tzoros of Klal Yisrael have to do with the Chet HaEgel. So what does the Torah teach us about the day after the Chet HaEgel? Shtei Dazor. It's up to Medrash for 40 days. Klal Yisrael was oisik b'tshuva. When Moshe Rabbeinu went up to Lahar, Klal Yisrael was oisik b'tshuva. Steht in the Morid Gezach in the Meshech Chochmah. Meshech Chochmah says, Moshe Rabbeinu tells the Bnei Levi, they should go and they should kill all the Choytim. Dr. Beis HaLevi, it doesn't say Klal Yisrael, there's no resistance. All of a sudden the Bnei Levi are going to kill, and there's no resistance. Dr. Meshech Chochmah, because they were makabel the din of the Eibishter. They knew they needed to do tshuva. The Sephorna says, it was a tshuva's hamishko. Hayois the chet was shaloi michu bizman of the Chet HaEgel. The kapara was that they were makabel. This is the din of the Eibishter. Steht in Pasuk, Dr. Pasuk, Vayisnatzlu b'nei Yisrael as Edyom mehar chayra. Edyom was the darga, whatever the Edyom was, the crowns, whatever it was. Vayisnatzlu as b'nei Yisrael as Edyom mehar chayra. Dr. Sephorna, when the Eibishter gives a person a present, the Eibishter never takes it back. No of us. They gave it back. They said, now we're not royal. Dr. Ramban, Hine Yisrael kiblu aleim es hamisa b'rotzen nafsham b'nei oynish ha'egel v'zeh inyan shuva gedoyla v'charota v'chatoa. That's Dr. Ramban. That means they said, we're not on the level anymore, we want to do tshuva. The Torah is teaching us the outlook. Whatever a Yid does, Klal Yisrael goes from the highest level possible, they go from the highest level, and now they say, Dafton Shuva. Zokta Sephorna Parshas Bereshis. Vayomer Hashem al Kayin lo mechorlach v'lo noflu panecha. The Eibishter tells Kayin, what are you worried about? Zokta Sephorna, what is lo mechorlach? Zokta Sephorna. Ki kishiyesh l'kilkul eza takana. You have a takana. Ain't a royal star on mashavar. What are you worrying about the past? There's a takana. The takana is to do tshuva. The Torah teaches us an outlook. Klal Yisrael didn't have they didn't get zerbrochen, they didn't start crying, they didn't go to therapy, they didn't discuss the difficulties. That's on tshuva. They did tshuva. They said chatasi lecha. They were makabel the din of the Eibishter. 3 times Moshe Rabbeinu in the Parasha state, Klal Yisrael was called the Am Kshei Oref. 3 times the Eibishter says Am Kshei Oref. When the pasuk comes and Moshe Rabbeinu is mispal for Klal Yisrael, Vayomer namatzosichem enecha yelech Hashem Kerbenu ki Am Kshei Orefu. Regular, there was the Medrash, what the Moshe Rabbeinu is saying, Hashem should save Klal Yisrael. We lay this on a tainus, ki am kshei orefu, v'solach lo v'neinu l'chataseinu l'chatonu. Zok the Medrash, this is the mile of Klal Yisrael. Maral explains, am kshei oref, that's what makes us a nation. Why are we here today? Because we're an am kshei oref. Now Klal Yisrael used the midah in the wrong way. Zok the Ishbitzer, the Eibishter said, Klal Yisrael could go in Golus. How are they going to go in Golus? Ki am kshei oref. Rav Dessler, and this is something I probably couldn't say this story over in front of Holocaust survivors. There's many things we could say today when we things, if a Yid that went through the Milchama Kemer Zogin Yisach. What was the first drasha Rav Dessler said, I find this, our dear friend is here, listen to this, you'll find this fascinating. What was the first drasha Rav Dessler said when he comes to Eretz Yisrael? He starts crying first about the Tzoros Yisrael, what Klal Yisrael went through. Then he thanks the Eibishter, the Abbas Eretz Yisrael, he's zeichet to be Eretz Yisrael. Now he asks the question, what was the Holocaust? Was the Holocaust the greatest sorrow for Klal Yisrael? What a Klal Yisrael, Lav Dafka. And he says like this.
Covered the was the biggest nest. If not that the Holocaust, I heard this afterwards from
Big Miller. If not for
the... my father used to say, if not for the Holocaust, we wouldn't be over here. Yeah? No one.
That's what the great people said. I was okay. My father said. Rav Dessler said. Rav Dessler said, Re'ei nosati l'fanecha soyoyim achayim v'salmoves ubacharta b'chayim. If Eliyahu Dessler comes to Eretz Yisrael and he spends his life depressed and he cries about what Klal Yisrael went through, then the Holocaust is the greatest sorrow for Klal Yisrael. If Rav Dessler comes to Eretz Yisrael and whatever he went through in his life, he uses it to teach Talmidim, he uses it to become a better person, then it's not the rest of sorrow in the world. Whatever a person goes through in his life, what does the Torah teach us about the Yidden that went through the Chet HaEgel? The Torah was Nigzar Alei and Misa. They could have spent their life in the depression. So, not the Pasuk, no, they did Shuvah. This is the koyach of the Am Yisrael. We're here today of all the great tzaddikim that had the koyach of the Am Kshei Oref and the simple Yidden. I think to myself, my grandparents got married in the Lager. In Ulm, Germany, they got married. Fascinating. How did someone get married in the DP camp? Get married in the DP camp. A person, my father said, Moshe Schwab was my uncle, his mother was a young girl. She was growing up in London. And she was growing up in London. The Platim came off the boat. A few months later, they all started working, they started making money. The koyach of the Am Yisrael is Am Kshei Oref. A Yid goes into Shabbos, State in the Shiur brings from the Kisvei Arizal, from the Arizal, that a person should all do tshuva every year of Shabbos. A person is going to Makabel the Pnei HaMelech. The Berheita brings, we're going to Me'ein Olam Haba. How can we go to Shabbos to Me'ein Olam Haba without doing tshuva? A Yid walks into Friday night, Zok the Medrash, Mizmor Shir L'Yom HaShabbos, Toiv L'Hoides L'Hashem. Zok the Medrash, or the Mauritian met Kayin. The Mauritian said, told Kayin, what do you do? Kayin said, I did tshuva. Or the Mauritian said, you did tshuva, Chtaf Ton tshuva. Mizmor Shir L'Yom HaShabbos, Toiv L'Hoides L'Hashem. A Yid goes into Shabbos with the attitude, whatever I'm going through in my life, whatever mistakes I make, I have the power. The Yid has the koyach. That's our koyach. Am Kshei Oref. The Chavrei brings.
Rebuild it.
Rebuild. Imagine Rabbi Berman was teaching a Lakewood Cheder boy English. It has the koyach of rebuilding. This is the koyach of the Am Yisrael. The Chavetz Chaim was sitting in the middle of World War I. He was sitting with Talmidim in the middle of World War I. They were very, very tzibrochim. And the Chavetz Chaim said the Medrash, the Shas, or the Mauritian did the chet, or the Mauritian was all of a sudden it got dark. Now the Mauritian thought, said, Zayin Avel Kin Choshech, noch the chet. And then the Mauritian saw it got light, the sun came out. And the Eibishter told the Mauritian said, Nu, azoi vi noch der chet ze gewen or, noch jede matze von Klal Yisrael kommt an or. The Eibishter should help each one of us. Whatever a person could live his whole life. I once heard this from Reb Vigi Blech from his father. He said if you have a gun, and if you point the gun at someone else, the person has to always remember his 3 fingers pointing at himself. Many people's life circumstances with tremendous nisyonis hachaim. A person goes into Shabbos and he says, Rebbeinu Shalom, my nisyonis hachaim, I learned from this week's Parasha, the koyach of Klal Yisrael, zoykif es roisha. Whatever I'm going through in my life, I should have the koyach of becoming a better person, the koyach of becoming a ben aliyah, the koyach of a person did a chet, I'm not going to do it again. And this is something we have to teach our children. We have to teach our children this koyach, sheva yipol tzadik v'kom, Rav Hutner writes, is not punkt. I tried this week, I was makabel to be a better person, and punkt I had an afila. The oifen of kom, the way a person becomes a better person, is sheva yipol tzadik. When a person has nefilas and he says, I'm going to go weiter, we're part of the am kshay oref. Emunah in Klal Yisrael, Shteitoch as Emunah b'bias HaMashiach, Shet Ein Yisrael Negol and Olam B'tshuva. Emunah in Klal Yisrael is an Emunah in the Am Yisrael. The Eibishter believes. Whatever you read in all the newspapers, all the problems with Klal Yisrael, the Eibishter believes in Klal Yisrael. The Eibishter believes in each one of us, that every one of us are shaykh to the Tikkun HaShalom. The Eibishter should bench us. We should be zoicha, have a Shabbos of Aliyah, a Shabbos of coming close to the Eibishter, a Shabbos of entirely beinu love the chavrei.